The next conference is by Rejón. He's the head of strategy, public affairs, and marketing and communication for Ericsson in Iberia, Morocco. Before joining Ericsson, Mr. Rejón worked at Oliver Wyman and Everest, where he was the partner in charge of the business consulting practice for the telecom sector. Rejón has a telecommunications engineer degree by Universidad Politécnica of Madrid and École Nationale Supérieure de Télécommunications de Paris. He graduated from Stanford University Management Science and Incorporated Finance in SEAT. Ivan, you have the floor.
Okay, thanks a lot. So, first, thank you for Colegio Oficial de Ingenieros de Telecom for the invitation, for your kind invitation. Also, congratulations for your 50th anniversary. And by the way, at the same time, we are at Ericsson, we are turning this month or in October 140 years old, which I think is pretty unique in this industry because things are, as my colleague was saying before, are moving very, very fast. By the way, as a quick anecdote, we were also born in a garage, but it wasn't in Southern California or sunny California. It was in much colder Stockholm. So I'm going to talk about one of the hottest topics right now in the industry, and this consumes a lot of my energy, efforts in discussions, not only with telco operators, but also with main verticals, companies like Iberdrola, big banks, health companies, and almost any industry. And if you want to capture the attention of any audience today, you need to talk about the artificial intelligence, 5G, IoT, or blockchain, for example. So I'm going to talk about 5G from the business perspective side, right? So this is the agenda that I proposed, 3 blocks, 12 slides, 30 minutes. I'm going to talk one slide about the digitalization opportunity and try to convince you that this is about the convergence of very different technologies. Then how 5G is enabling or defining from scratch new use cases and new applications that are disrupting some verticals. And then the quantification that we did together with a top management consulting company called Arthur D. Little, in which we quantified the 5G business potential in 8 industries globally, but also for Spain. And we are sharing this, for example, in the 5G public consultation that the government published during the summer, and we provided our vision on 5G for Spain. So from left to right, these are, on the left, the revenues that we forecast for telcos in the coming years. So flat rate, almost 1.6% increase year per year. And on the right, these are the revenues that we quantify for the whole ICT sector globally when they adopt different industries, automotive, manufacturing, health, banking, etc. They adopt virtual digital technologies like artificial intelligence, software-defined networks, cloud computing, analytics, 5G, IoT, etc. And when you look at the growth rate, the compound annual growth rate per year, we are talking about 2 figures number. So this is, for example, the kind of growth that we are looking for. And now I will try to describe you about the 5G business potential around the fact that all these industries are incorporating 5G technology. I did some copy-paste, and I liked very much looking at the presentations of some top consulting companies like Strategy Analytics or another telco like Telenor, because the way they see 5G is pretty much the way we see also 5G. And we are not talking about, standalone technologies. What I think is really, really critical is that all these technologies, IoT, artificial intelligence, 5G, on their own, they will have a huge impact. But when we combine all these technologies, they reinforce each other. My colleague before was talking about cloud virtualization and these kind of technologies, and we will need 5G for some of the use cases. Otherwise, this disruption, this potential impact won't happen. For example, latency. The problem is that we have, for example, when we go to the Mobile World Congress, people, the stands of companies like Facebook or Samsung is crowded with people trying to have a very immersive experience with virtual reality glasses and things like that. But the fact is that it doesn't work with the current technologies. You can have a not that good experience trying to have an immersive cloud gaming whatever. So this is a video that you can find on YouTube. This is trying to play with augmented reality glasses with a Wi-Fi or 4G connection. The fact that 4G and Wi-Fi present a latency of more than 100 milliseconds makes that the immersive experience that we are trying to get is almost impossible.
Sen när vi går ut och provar lite grann så kommer normalläget vara att vi kör ungefär på en tredjedels sekundlag.
The concept of latency.
Får se. Och 3 sekunder.
Galet lång tid.
Ja, det är det.
Det känns lite som en så här Super Mario-grej.
Hör du mig?
Ja.
Some people dance like that without fingers, right? Well, without a huge improvement in terms of latency, some applications, not only stupid applications or use cases like dancing or cooking, for example, are impossible. Even e-health. If we try to have some critical, what ETU calls critical matching type communications, where the requirements on the network are very, very, very strong in terms of latency, capacity, bandwidth, the number of devices connected, is almost impossible without 5G. You cannot perform a surgery remote operation, for example. Having the patient in the UK, as we had, and the doctor in the States, latency is going to be critical, right? On the other hand, there are already some use cases around what we call massive matching type communications, typical IoT use cases, which can already be implemented with the current technology. So we see 4G as the path moving to 5G. And we are already incorporating new performance, new releases in terms of software, hardware, to move from 4G to 5G across this path and benefit of some of these new huge improvements in terms of latency and capacity, for example. When looking at what's going on in the industry, and this is the latest vision that we have, some telcos are already experimenting with the 4G plus, 4G.5, LTE Advanced Pro, Gigabit LTE. There are many, many, many names. And moving from 4G to 5G. And when I look at this picture, and this is a little bit worrying for me, most of the use cases that we are finding right now in the telco industry come from Asia telco operators and from American telco operators. And I will come back to that later because it explains the huge pressure from the European Union to have a proper 5G plan for Europe. But what I found also very, very interesting is not only telcos are working or are trialing with 5G, also some key vertical industries are looking at this technology, and they are moving very, very fast. So I will put just a couple of examples. We have the automotive industry in Germany, Mercedes, Audi, Ford, BMW. They created, without taking into consideration, for example, telcos, the 5G Automotive Alliance, because they consider that for some use cases like autonomous driving, you need extra low latency. You need a very reliable network. You need to send a lot of data if, for example, the driver is going to get a lot of information. And we have Scania. We are working with them around, use cases called platooning. You have trucks, driving very close one to each other. If you don't have 5G, the time it takes the driver to take control of the truck and brake could take 1.5 meters. And running at 90 kilometers per hour, you would crash in front of the truck you have in front of you. So you need extra low latency for some use cases to happen right now. So we are working, for example, with IDIADA, the first 5G remote driving at Mobile World Congress last year, with Group PCA in France, and also other players. And health also is a very interesting sector. I talk about the application of remote surgery. You have the patient in one location, the doctor in another, and you need an extra reliability of the network and very, very low latency. You can have the bisturi, moving and having a delay of 300 milliseconds. You could cut, for example, the aorta, right? So you need to be very careful. And we are working together with the top research institutes, hospitals, to make it happen in the coming months. So I mentioned that when you look at some of the use cases, at least from the telco industry, they are happening right now very, very fast in Asia, Japan, Korea, and also China. By the way, China is maybe the first power today in artificial intelligence, pretty much linked to 5G. And also in the States, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. So the European Union has defined a 5G for Europe action plan, asking for support for the whole industry. And there is a very precise timeline of what the European Union would like to see in the coming years in Europe. By 2020, for example, one major city in Spain or in any other European country must have a 5G, full 5G network deployed. And all main transport links should have, by 2025, a 5G network. And for example, this is already the case in Germany, where the government has subsidized an autobahn to be in which telcos are deploying pre-5G technologies. So what's the 5G business potential for Europe? And this is my almost my last slide. For Spain, we run this model with Arthur de Little around 8 big sectors, from manufacturing, automotive, public transportation, energy utilities, public safety, financial services, healthcare, and media, and around 20 use cases. Some of them can be already solved with current technologies, but most of them will be enhanced significantly with new 5G performance networks. So we see a lot of potential in manufacturing. We are working with local Spanish companies on cloud robotics, because the robot, for example, Amazon, we were commenting on Amazon, they have 40,000 robots. Fiber is not a solution because the robot is moving, and you need ultra low latency also. And you need also that drones, for example, inside a building connect to each other, and you don't have GPS inside, and 5G can be the solution there. So 11 billion by 2026 in Spain for the whole industry, if we deploy, according to the European plan, 5G networks, or if we improve current 4G networks to 5G. How we are doing that? Because it was PowerPoint and Excel, what I showed before. So we created, together with other partners like Telefónica, Intel, Universidad Carlos III, IMDEA Institute, a very interesting research lab linked to Universidad Carlos III, the first open lab on 5G in Europe. By the way, it recognized also as one of the top labs in the world by the GSMA. So together with our technological partners, but also with key companies in key verticals like Dirección General de Tráfico, the Traffic Authority for Spain, Acciona, Red Hat, Fitur, we are trying to define which could be the most relevant use cases to be solved by 5G. And by the way, I'm very happy to say that we are innovating. The tourist industry is the most important industry in Spain. We are the country #1, according to the World Economic Forum, and we are working together with Fitur and IFEMA on the first use cases on 5G, so that, for example, augmented reality could happen. So that's all. I don't know if I can take some questions from you. Questions? No? Thanks.